All right. So the first question is your full name.
Julia Reed. That's it.
That's it. No middle name.
No.
Julius Reed.
I don't think I had a middle name. All right. So the second one is kind of the same thing, but just your parents.
Just my parents.
Yeah, parents' full name.
Okay, Mamie. It was you want the maiden and
We can do
and just the married name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mamie Armstrong, Johnson Reed. And you want the other name? I'm giving you what we are calling it. It's Johnson Reed, but his name is what his name is? But John Henry Reed.
John Henry Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He was named after, he got a boy, AJ got a boy named after
John Henry Reed.
one of my nephews.
All right. So this next question, I was asked to ask you this because I already thought like that already happened, but like, did you ever meet your grandparents? I was asked to ask this, so I don't really know. I didn't really know.
Who is my grandparents?
Yeah.
If I did, I didn't know nothing about them. Cause my mother passed when I was 2 years old. My real mother, her name was the one that made me read. And my stepmama was named Pinky Reed. And so, but Mamie Reed is my biological mother.
Right,
And
biological.
Because that's when I didn't even remember her all of it. I remember some things about her, like in my mind.
Right.
You know, in my mind I had,
Right.
like how she got buried by the grave, where my brother Ulysses is buried in Georgia.
Okay.
So I had that's where she was buried. I can remember somebody, my brother said that somebody had to tell me. They said somebody had to tell me about that because I can remember a person holding me in my arm, in their arm.
Right.
And we had chairs all lined out by the grave. And so I can remember saying that, but I couldn't catch who it was holding me.
Right.
And all I can remember some spots in it.
Okay.
All right. So the next question is, who raised you?
About two or three. Now, okay. When I knowed anything, that my sister Annabelle, she and her husband David Savage, she was Annabelle Savage at that time. And so when I knowed anything, come to knowing, just about to knowing anybody, now you might wish I was about 3 years old going into divorce. But I know they were the one I thought was my mother and my father. See, because I couldn't even remember seeing my dad. If I seen him, I didn't know nobody met the graveyard.
No.
But I know he had to be there.
Right, right.
But when I know anything, when I got about 4, then I was calling my brother-in-law Dad. I was calling my sister Mom.
No.
But what it ended up to be, she didn't want to, she kept me. Yeah, she the one kept me. We traveled back from Georgia on the season.
Okay.
We
working the field.
Yeah, working the field.
Okay.
And everything, and I know that we were Georgia Red Cross until I went to school in in Georgia.
So you was a migrant worker.
Right.
Right.
Like,
You was your family.
most of the
migrant.
time I wasn't, but until I was for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept me until, now you want to know when I'm coming on in now. Okay. And when I come to knowing myself, knowing who my daddy was,
Right.
we was in BLK,
Florida.
and then and my sister didn't want us to stay with her no more. I had two of my sisters with her. I was the baby one.
Right.
My baby's sister and the knee girl.
Okay.
We were three that my mom, they said my mama, my oldest sister now said that she wanted Annabelle and them to raise me, not Daddy.
Right.
Or even Pinky.
Right. They wanted.
She wanted us, these three, us three, to be raised by Annabelle. But Annabelle, the thing went getting rough and everything in Belgrade, so she put us on the bus and sent us to Ray Cross, Georgia.
Okay.
And
Well,
I was about 5 then. I was about 5 years old then.
okay. Where were you born?
Okay, we always say Will County.
Ware County.
That's supposed to be Ray Cross and all around in there.
Okay.
But it's not. I was born in a little place you call Beach, Georgia.
Beach, Georgia.
Beach, Georgia. Just like you have a little hug, like White City got a little, when they used to have a little town here, a little old place here, a little old place there. They named the places.
Is that close to Elma, Georgia?
Now it's in most of the Elma captain going into the cap. Most of everything in there was going to the Elma for cap.
Okay. Well,
But you have to, after you wanted your social for birthday. Birth certificate, you had to go to there
to get the
birth
birth certificate.
certificate there, but they didn't have mine.
You had to get the
They had a file.
Okay.
They had a file, and when they know most of all them people what was back, I know when the midwife was living,
right,
and brought in there to Elma, Georgia, that courthouse caught a fire, and a lot of them got burned up.
A lot of birth records
got
burned
burned up.
So.
But they did have a boy.
Right.
After me and Buddy, my oldest brother, after I got old.
Right.
And I got grown. And we went back and searching for the birth certificate.
Okay.
So we found the birth certificate. And we cut it, we kind of cut it a little shorter, but we found the birth certificate, it didn't have a name. I still got it.
Okay.
It had a boy, I went to Pete, Sarah, I think it was Sarah. Yeah. And they put his son off for it. And when it came back, and we told what my name was,
right.
And I told her who my mom, my dad.
Right.
So, and they brought it back and said, well, they took on what they found out. It was a boy baby born on that same month.
Okay.
October 18,
okay.
1942.
Okay.
But they did not have my name like I got now.
Right.
I sent it back off. They told me I could switch it or whatever, but I didn't. I sent it back, but I hold on to Julia because I had come there for me.
Okay. Okay. So you sort of kind of picked the name Julius.
Yeah,
because they didn't have a record of your birth certificate,
right.
And you filled in. Now that you just about to be 80, what was your greatest accomplishment from there to there that you're proud that you're a part of? Just one. I know you got many, but just one that stands out.
What stands out is mostly when the Lord changed my life.
That was a miracle.
That was the miracle.
Right. That was a miracle.
I went through some danger, as they say, danger, trouble, and sneer.
Right.
I went through a lot of that because I didn't have my growing up. I did not have all my daddy, because he was the pastor.
Right.
The first one of the churches, the First Point Church of the Living God.
Right.
And so his name was BLK History Reed.
Okay.
So what he didn't really. I kind of did it up. Really, he didn't have me over. I got to him at 5 years old, and he kept. I stayed with them until I was about 12, about 12 years old. So you talking about 5 and 7. He had me about 7 years.
Okay.
That was the time to teach me how to. I had to go to church.
Right.
I had to be in Sunday school.
As they train a child as he in, he'll return to it. So that's where you get your father being a reverend, and
see, it was in me.
Right. It was.
But the problem was, but I wasn't expressing it. Coming up and doing my younger, they were like 4 and 5 and 6. Like, my brother-in-law when I used to call Dad,
right.
He gave me in jokes.
Yeah.
Sat around, and if he wanted to give me a little wine, he'd give me a little wine.
Right. Right.
So I really didn't get the Christian learning until I got with my dad.
Right.
So out of them 7, then he held me for a while. Then I joined the church, the First One Church of the Living God.
Wow.
Our little Hubberville church. They branch off the Mother Church.
Yeah.
And you there, I said, I didn't stay. What I did, I slid right on out because they wanted me to give up so much things like shooting balls and stuff like that. They, back at the end, they didn't want you to shoot them all because they said that was gambling.
Gambling.
Especially in Pentecost. That's what they always tell you. It's certain things now, then I just went head on with it. Okay. And I thought I slid back out. Huh. Then I came, I stayed with my sister and my brother, S.J. Allstar and Louise Allstar. Yeah. Then when I went just one Saturday, we were sitting there, I said, I'm going to Georgia, Florida. And that's what I did. Okay. Just went on to Florida.
Well, it's kind of hard questions. What was your most, what in life to 80?
Oh, you talking about when I into that?
Into 80, you're going into 80. Throughout the whole life, what was your biggest failure? Failure. What that you wish you could have changed, but it was the lowest point of failure, what you didn't complete.
Right.
Or like some people think that that you're always going to be going up, but sometimes you go down and then you recover. You know what I mean? Because I got failures just like I got, things that I achieved, like kids and marriage and being able to change,
right?
In transition of changing. So I understand that. But any failures in life that you feel like that you could have did better or did different?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I feel like when this band slid back, I went way back. Not in just my age, but I went back in my learning to get into with God, and then self really come in a heat.
Right.
And when it came into a heat, then even down to my first marriage.
Right.
Like me and my first marriage, I was 17 and she was 15.
Right.
And so when we got married and went to having children,
right.
and for 8 years, we got 4 kids out of it.
8 years.
8 years. And during that time, because I really wasn't into it, was all about myself and it was all about herself. And the way it went down, I remember while I was talking about that, I said, you know what, self is a bad something. Then you get between you trying to please it. I wasn't intending to get married, but I was planning on doing a skip by.
But you know what?
But God didn't let it do.
That speaks volumes of you, because I met you when I was about 17. That you at least got married, even when you wasn't doing right. You obeyed God because that was instilled in you to get married. Because a lot of people having kids without being married.
Oh yeah.
And that speaks volume of your character and integrity. So,
well, I always had a strong feeling that I wanted to be right in my marriage and everything.
Right.
So I tried to squeeze out it.
Yeah.
Couldn't squeeze out it. And then I ended up with 4 kids.
Right.
3 girls, 1 boy.
Right.
And so, and I tried to, I thought about that when me and her couldn't set horses too much together.
You had to move.
So I tried to stay. Her mother-in-law tried to keep me there. My mother-in-law tried to, I told her, and every time I say something, it was just like a, what you call it, you use a lot of dynamite.
Yeah, friction.
And it just blows.
Okay.
So it wasn't nothing, so I see that wasn't no, but me and her had broke up many times. And go back together. But this time, that last time, God just fixed it. Say, okay, you're going to have to do it. But my bigger teaching, what I wouldn't change it no kind of way when I had to pay child support.
Right.
I never tried to skip out of it.
Right. You felt obligated because you brought them in the world and you wanted to make sure.
And then I always had, I know that was some of my dad bringing up in me. Because my brother, I told him, I said, man, he said, man, I wouldn't get paid no child support and another dude doing my spending it. I said, hey, them children didn't ask to come in this world.
That's right. Well,
that's what I had in mind the whole time. I didn't care if me and her never did get back together. But we'd be around one
another. The misconception, I know a lot of the family members probably don't know you as much as I've been around you these years, and when at my younger age, he was very intimidating and strong and strict and like that. But a lot of them don't know that you're really funny.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of your family know that you got a sense of humor?
Yeah, and I don't think so. When I was coming up, if I said promise a child, they do something.
Right.
And I told them what I was going to do.
Okay.
I didn't promise 2 and 3 times.
Okay. You didn't chew your cabbage twice.
I always went back and I stood up to that. Yeah. And I raised them out of I got married again, and then I ended up with your wife.
Thank you. And sometimes I be mad at you.
And I know sometimes they would, but I was always a straight shooter.
Okay.
And if I say, even when I was the president over the Reed and Armstrong family reunion,
right,
I always was straight shooter.
Right.
I know a lot of them didn't like it, but the problem is, but it helped them bond together. It kept them together, but even though some of them wouldn't even speak to it.
Right.
And even my children sometimes, when I got so rough on them, one by my first ride, a lot of times they wouldn't even get it, they get on the bus, because once the Lord changed me, once he changed me, then I ended up, I ended up doing what he told me to do. No more of me.
Okay. You followed God.
It was out of my hands. And whatever he directed me, that's the way I went. And it always, I ain't gonna say part-time.
Always.
He always brought me through a lot of stuff.
Okay, now one question, I want you to look at the camera and state your nickname.
I know who pushed in that. But nobody never holler know that name except the one I used to call Dad.
Okay.
And
So we get to find out after 80 years, huh?
After just about 80 years, you'll find out. My name was Weebo.
Weebo.
That was my nickname.
Well, that was a tough
And nobody know that Weebo.
Weebo. See?
Until I told him one thing, I said, I held it up to the good while, and just like this and that. And I never hollered, and nobody never could call me that. So what I ended up, my brother-in-law, before he died, and my sister, when I called mom, and the one I called dad. Now, she might have wouldn't have remembered, but he did, because he the one that gave it to me.
Okay.
And so when people used to ask me, say, what's your nickname? Yeah, I ain't got no nickname.
Okay, so I'm going to say some words, and I want you to say the first thing that come to your mind.
Okay.
Okay, God.
Jesus.
Okay. Children. Laughter.
Our generation.
Generation. Cabbage. That's an inside joke, man.
I know it's such bad, because cabbage fall quick.
How bad you want to leave Georgia? Did you catch a ride, or did you first left doing what?
No, when I first left, I caught the bus. I left in style. When I got here, I got here at 2 o'clock one morning, that morning, and had 2 cents in my pocket. Didn't even know where who I had. Only one I know that I had in Georgia, in Florida here, was my oldest brother, the one they call Aaron Reed.
Right, Aaron Reed.
You know, yeah, the one they call Buddy. And where Avenue D used to be crowded and everything, so we come down, and I know it was on 8th or 9th Street, 9th or 8th Street, or 7th Street. I hadn't been here myself when I was a little kid. I was kind of like a little kid who came in.
But you was about 13 or 14 at this time.
This time, I was about 15 years old.
On your own, looking for your brother.
Right, looking for my brother.
A lot of people probably don't know that.
I didn't even take time to think about it.
Right.
It's just like I said, we enjoyed it. When you do things like that, what you have to do, like I did. Okay, out in the woods, my brother-in-law, the one they call SJ.
Right.
I worked with him limbing trees.
Okay.
He cut down trees, and we call it pulpwood. But and that's when they used to make these cross ties 6 feet with pulpwood, and they hauled them. I worked in there, and then they didn't make nothing. Right. We didn't make nothing out of by my age.
Right. Because you was
underage. I was underage then, and so but he had me out in the woods with him. And then when I did get that little check, you think about it, my room was $7 a week. I bet, and then the person that fixed the food for me or something, I give her 10 or something like that. And if I got $18, I just had enough to pay for my anything like that. But that day, I think I had about $18 or $19. And when we played that with what you call tunk, and tunk and all like that. And so when we got through, we was waiting on my brother-in-law. He was our supervisor, and he come by with them little envelope, give you what your little pay was. So what I did, when he brought me that little bit of money. I paid my rent. Either I paid my little $7 for the rent. I never missed my rent violation. And if I had a little bit of money left over, I'd go down and buy me a pair of khakis if I needed it. And back then you buy pants for $1.50. Okay. The khakis was about $2. Okay. But with dungaree, you talking about $1.50, and some of them just $1.
Okay.
And so I ended up Now, and got there and paid, and I still had about a few dollars. And you wouldn't believe how much the bus fare went there to him.
How much? How much?
$8.
Wow. That's a
And,
day's work.
more.
A week's work.
Yeah, you're about a week's
work. Wow.
You're about close to it. And you think, oh man, and then when I got there, got it, and I told him right then, I can still remember that. I told him, I said, I told the other boys, folks that they're with me, because they took me in just like I was a man myself, and I wasn't no man.
Right.
But I was doing me and little work and thing. And so you think of it and I told him, I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to Georgia. I'm going to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
They thought I was just shooting off at the mile. After I got through paying him my little, he called us his sons up there in that little room out there upstairs, two-story, a room and a half. He said, son, just cut it out. Y'all boys ain't gonna leave me. And who? What they did.
You got out of there, huh?
I said, I'm gone.
Okay.
And I went out there and got a ticket.
You got out of there.
Yeah, I didn't leave that night. I left that morning because the bus wouldn't come in until that morning.
And I remember I was so scared, but I was half crazy anyway.
Yeah.
And I walked in to ask you, can I date Lynn?
Yeah.
And you told me, yes, you can date that 16. You got to go to church.
Yeah.
And then you said, don't let me catch you in that back room.
Yeah. That was my motto.
Yeah, don't let me catch you in that back room.
My motto was, even if they come and bring the fiancé, they are always used to let them sit out the door and talk.
Right.
And I got at them, and I told them, I said, look, let me tell you, yeah, I wouldn't go to there if he can't come to meet my parents.
Yeah, and I did. I was honored. I take it on, and I want to, come in and meet y'all instead of just go with it and just be to the back. And I think that's where, I guess, that speaks of the same kind of agility. That's why we get along, because I tell you, I was scared. And I finally made it to the back room. And once I did, what I told you about the key. What I told you about my key to the house.
Oh, you told you were going. I ain't giving my key up. I ain't giving my key up. No kind of way.
I heard my key.
Right.
But when you got older, right?
You're right.
And you realized that you're getting older. At what point did you realize that, you know what, I'm getting old?
Yeah. But I tell you, it's kind of went with me a good while. Right. Even when they had my 50, my daddy was living there, right. And they had my 50 silver anniversary, or birthday. Right. And I didn't feel my dad. I remember these words he said. He said, son, he said, you're just not getting started. You're going to have difference in you. He said, because you're going to have to, that's what he was telling me about getting started. But I may have things that I ain't never all had too much in going on. But when I really went to feeling like I was getting to it, it's when I was working to Continental Cement. I was 70 years old then when they gave me that 70-year retirement. So that's what it called. That's when I retired. Then I know I went to having little pains then that everybody else in sugar had pain at that certain time. Right. But I told my one I was deacon, I said, you know what? He just seemed like God just strengthened me in every way.
You've had something to say to everybody about family reunion and about coming together as one.
Right.
What would you say? You can look at the camera and you can say it. They looking at you.
Right.
right now. This is you saying what they should do as a unit.
One thing is being obedient. That's the best thing they can really do to whoever they have. If you voted somebody in or you put somebody in, respect that person. That person whatever need to respect them. You can't pick your choice with them because some ain't gonna do, some is gonna. They're like the kids. Sometimes some of the kids are do and some won't. But the order to keep a family reunion bonded together, you got to be obedient to those that over you. I always preached a lot during the meetings when we had when I was president. It may don't work the way I wanted to work. But I tell you what, when it turned out and do right, even though I went places, this is one thing they really need to understand. I went places I hadn't started going.
Okay.
I used to just stay in one or two places, Georgia back here or something like that. But after they went to voting and where they want to have it at, by me being the president of it, I had to give up what I feel like.
A lot of yourself
myself
in order to
go where they
with whoever in charge. You went along with that.
Right.
And that's what you wanna
yeah, I want them to really
the
love one another. They talk it, like I told them, I said it's easy to sit down and talk.
Okay.
I said, but when you start putting it in action, you start to putting it in action, then that's what going to really count.
Okay. And one final question from me. In your legacy, legacy meaning your final act, the legend, what they say about you once you transition, what do you want people to know that you was a part of, your legacy that you left on this earth, that people will say about you when they bring your name up?
Even when they bring my name up, I like for them to at least say, hey, he loved it, everybody. Not a artificial love,
right,
but what you call it, perfect love. I wanted that perfect love for them.
Unconditional love.
Because I didn't care if they got mad at me a lot of times. I walk right by them and I still speak to them. Right. And still talk to them, and they still stuck with me. Right. And that's what let me know that God had put that love in me. Now this ain't all about me. Right. You know, when we first had the first union in Folston, Georgia, I told them there, I said, what we got going here, I said, I don't never need the union to do something for me. I said, but we want to be where we can help one another and love one another and don't let no falling out. Right. Just disband us.
So what you want to be known as, in one word, in a nutshell, is a righteous man.
A righteous man.
Righteous man. Right. A man that loved, inspired, right, and had people love you back. Right. And that's the one of the greatest things is Nat King Cole said it. The greatest thing you ever learn is just to love and be loved in return.
Okay. See, but we understand that you can't. Ain't everybody gonna love you.
No, but
not like it's here because Jesus didn't get it. Even the whole time he was here though, but he didn't stop him.
Right, from love.
And for loving people, and that's what you want, love for everyone. And if the whole of you got, it's like if you got that glue that it gets so hot and it break a loose, really you ain't got that strong glue. Get you some, what you call them, say this.
Gorilla glue.
Gorilla glue.
And stick it together.
And stick it together.
And stay with it.
Keep on going. Yeah. Because Oh, well, and I'm about 30. We've been about 30. Been here about 30 years there. I know the secretary, the president now, she got it on that book. I was one of the founders. I didn't never claim anything for myself.
Right.
When we got through with it, we just, when we put it in action, they kept me as president. We had voting going on, and they wouldn't vote nobody else in but me.
Okay.
But that's why I said they showed me love.
I'm gonna ask a question off camera to close out our video.
Oh, yeah.
You've been on this earth for 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
80 strong years.
Yeah.
As going to be 80. We're doing this right before your 80th birthday.
About 10
yeah. Yeah, a couple more days. What would you say out of your 80 years of being on this earth? What would you want to leave on this earth when God called you home in about 40 years?
Oh, if what I would like for them to do, not so much about what I did, what I told them to do what God said, told them to do. And I just like to say to myself, what I like to leave, he wasn't always smiling, but he's always was straight on what he was doing. If he told you something, he meant his word. In his word.
Integrity.
You know.
Yeah, your word is your bond.
Smiling.
Yeah. And that's it.
All right.